Alright guys, so now I'm going to show you how to epoxy cups. So a lot of these need another coat or they're on their last coat. So what you'll need for this is you'll need an epoxy, you'll need a measuring cup, and a stirring stick. Most people recommend that you use 2 cups and you measure each one separately. Now, I'm always going to be a little more difficult. I like to just use one. Right now, with everything taking so long to get to us and having limited supplies, I don't want to use too much. Also, best thing to do is when you do get some measuring cups, measure it with water. I made the mistake of getting some measuring cups online that had fine reviews, and come to find out that the measurements on the cup were incorrect. So eventually I looked at my jugs of epoxy and went, whoa, something's really off. And I was having some issues with my cups that just they weren't even. I was having a hard time getting things to not have little pits and little dents in them. And it would take me more coats to get them to be nice and smooth, which obviously takes more time, more energy, more cost. So I always make sure that the cups are accurate measurements. I don't have any problems with these. These are like the ones that you see most on Amazon, their little Prepstor. So I have that. I have a stirring stick, and then I have my epoxy. Now I know a lot of people like different things. I have been using Art and Glow for several months now, and I don't have any issues. So I have no qualms about that. I find that Art resin is better anyways. The Art resin is typically going to be a little thicker. It self-levels, so you don't have to worry about putting too much or too little on. It usually levels itself out pretty nicely, and it doesn't run off the cups as well. It just thickens up a little bit nicer, and it gives you this really amazing glass finish. So I will set this on the table, and I'm going to measure out half and half. This is 1 part to 1 part epoxy. And just like food, you want to make sure eye level. Measure to eye level. All right. I'll let it settle before I add any more. All right. And now I'm going to get on my other glove. I don't like to touch the lids and stuff with the glove until I'm ready to mix, because then I just end up contaminating the gloves, and I'm going to be using them to stir. And then I will stir for 3 to 5 minutes, and then I also let it sit for a couple more minutes to make sure it actually activates. Before I would just make sure it was clear, and then I wouldn't wait much, and I found that sometimes it just took longer for it to settle on the cup, or would cause a little bit of pitting. Just giving it a couple minutes to actually start to activate really does help. Now I suggest wearing a mask when you're mixing epoxy and using epoxy, and being in a well ventilated area. Plenty of safety issues around that. But for the most part, just be safe. Always wear gloves. So I'm going to keep mixing this. Hopefully speed up the process for you guys until it's nice and smooth, clear. Like I said, I don't have any problems with this. This epoxy gives me this really, really glassy finish. Sometimes also another tip for not getting any pitting or any smudges or areas that have been missed is to clean the cups after you've touched them with like vinyl or transfer paper, or your fingers putting on stickers or water slides, and just go over them with a little bit of alcohol without touching any ink, obviously. Go over with a little bit of alcohol, or I use Windex without an issue. I know some people will use off-brand like a Windex or ammonia clear, or might get a little bit of a You know, just like you see on your windows, there's still smudge on it. I like to use stuff that I know will be completely clear afterwards and not leave any residue. I scrape the sides, make sure it's all mixed in. Pretty much clear. I'm gonna let it sit for a few minutes. I'm gonna make sure this turner here is acting goofy, not sure why. They do it every once in a while. There's a lot of weight on these things when it comes to these hydro spinners. So, and the hydro cups on the spinner. And of course, I got the foam on the inside that doesn't always cooperate.
Hey, Mommy, you know, they said there was magic cards.
And then
it
I also
drives all by itself, and you don't have to drive it.
kiddos. Move my stuff before I start epoxy. Sometimes you can tell that your epoxy is ready because it'll start to warm up, depending on what kind of epoxy it is. And then usually, and as long as I don't have any glitter, like right now I don't have any glitter cups, I usually do my glitter cups last if I have cups that are already been epoxied over or just need a last coat so I don't mix glitter onto it. The epoxy should be pretty much ready now. I'm going to start over here and work my way around, just easier. As you tell, I got kids in the other rooms. I just pour it on a little bit, and then I spread it around. Like I said, mine's pretty thick. I don't need a lot. I made 4 ounces for all these cups, and I'll have plenty left over. It's just easier for me to make a little bit more, and then I can make keychains or cup toppers or straw toppers, whatever I want. I'm sure you love my spinner setup. My husband made the bottom ones after I had the top ones. He was originally going to make me a 6 turner, and when we got around to it, we just like, it's too big and I won't be able to have any more room on the table. So we just went ahead and did 4 and then left the other 2 on top. Work my way around, pour it on. I make a mess. I'm a really messy creator here. And I'm a hot mess because it is really hot in this house right now. It's about 80 degrees in the house. We haven't put an air conditioner on yet. Well, it requires me to make sure I have one this year. We had a small one last year. We gotta buy a new one this year. But with everything else going on, you know, not essential at this point. But we will before the summer starts, which in Maryland could be tomorrow. We go from 40 degrees to 90 degrees in a day. So I'm going to spread this around. Make sure it's coated. Make sure I set it on, like if I actually rub over certain spots. If you don't rub over certain spots, even though it's filled it in, sometimes it'll eventually, as it's turning, it'll just come off that spot because it hasn't really adhered to it. I've noticed that in the past. I'm like, oh, I thought everything was covered. Oh, by making sure I rub over everything, I don't have that problem. So, here we go. There we go. Put a light coat on them all, spread it all around. Now my method isn't necessarily the best method out there. It's just what works for me. It's what I do. Other people have other methods. Other people will put all of the epoxy in different containers and we'll measure out exactly how much each cup needs. And I don't have the time for all that, nor the money, or want to waste so many resources, especially since it's so hard to find anything right now, or it takes forever to get to me. So I don't want to set myself in a way that I won't be able to replicate it later. Once again, pour a little on, spread it around, get the bottom, get the little edges here. Make sure it's all coated. I do wish they made more cups with the little spouts on them, because these rims just drip like crazy. Make sure these chunky cups, I'll make sure that I get them all the little ridges. Mr. America here needs a little bit more epoxy around him. Coffee cups, I get questions about coffee cups every once in a while. Now, the coffee cups, I definitely try to go slim, because if you have too much pooling around the coffee cup, it'll land around the handle, and that's no fun. So it'll come around the handle edge, or you just have this big old lump that you have to attempt to sand down, which doesn't always work. So epoxy's pretty thick, and this here, since it's art resin, I don't have to use very much. I can use smaller coats and go more often if I need to. I also sand down in between so that it has something to adhere to as well. Because sometimes it's just too smooth. I mean, I use a flat primer, but some of these are just the way they're shaped. It allows it to sort of slick off, or go huddle up in a certain area because of the oddities. So I just use a little bit. I gotta put a water slide on this one anyways. So as long as it's smooth, I'll be putting another coat on. A little bit. Make sure. Thin coats. Get around the edges. Get around the handle. And we're good to go. And that is pretty much it for this part of it. I'm going to let these turn for about 10-15 minutes. And then I'm going to hit them very, very quickly with a heat gun. I could do it now, and I'll probably show you how I do it quickly with the cup in the back, because I don't want to. I'm gonna leave that out. The heat gun I won't use for very long, because you can burn the epoxy. And when you burn the epoxy, you'll have little burn marks, you'll have divots, welts, things of that nature in your epoxy. You won't have it smooth. It'll look like pieces are missing. So you just very lightly need to go over very quickly just to get any bubbles out. And it just really needs a little bit of air. Sometimes if you have a couple of pinpricks and you don't have a heat gun, you can even just blow on them. I've blown on them and just been able to get the little bubbles out. But if you have micro bubbles, especially for chunky glitters like this, I definitely recommend having a heat gun. We used to use a propane torch, but we found it got too hot and then would burn the epoxy or make the epoxy run. So it would just run off, and then you have a bunch of spots where there's no epoxy because it would just get too warm. So I like the controllability of a heat gun a little bit better. So then I just come over here. I'll wait for it to warm up just a tad. And I just hit it real quick. I'll wait for it to turn around. This is one of the slower spinners. Make sure I hit the decal and the chunky glitter real quick. And it glastens up like really fast. And that's it. That's all I have to do. Very quickly. Just here, this one here, I saw bubble pop instantly. All I need, a couple quick swipes. Couple quick swipes and you're good. All good. Alrighty guys, so this will spin for about 12 hours. If you were going to add another coat to any of these, then you could wait about 5. You have to read your epoxy sometimes, or your instructions. It'll tell you when you can add a flood coat. Now, it's not saying you're flooding it, it's just that you can add a secondary coat while the epoxy is still tacky, and then it doesn't require you to sand down. Now, obviously, if you have a lot of pitting or denting, you're going to want to probably sand it down so that you can get a smooth, even surface. So that's what I like to do if I do see there's any imperfections in the glitter or in the cup itself. So with these, though, I don't see anything right now. They're pretty smooth. I don't see myself having to do that. None of these need another flood coat, so I'll let them turn for about 12 hours. I'll take them off, I let them hang, or I'll set them in a space where they won't get messed with, and they can finish drying for a while. But other than that, that's it. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.